Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a 2025 game and a full remake of the classic Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, originally released in 2004. This new version runs on Unreal Engine 5, offering stunning visuals and a modern experience, and these are the game's minimum system requirements. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to squeeze out the absolute best performance from this game using some interesting graphical tweaks, so you can enjoy smooth gameplay even on lower-end PCs. But before we begin, this video is sponsored by Xmod. If you've played Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, you know how punishing it can be. One wrong move, and you're spotted. Ammo runs out quickly, stamina drains within minutes, and survival can feel like a grind. That's exactly where I was. Until I discovered Xmod. Xmod is a completely free tool that supports over 5,000 PC games, from timeless classics to the latest releases. Think of it as your ultimate gaming sidekick, packed with cheats, trainers, FPS optimizers, stutter fixes, and mods that make every game smoother and more fun. For Snake Eater, I just typed "snake" in the search bar, and instantly I got access to a full list of trainers. Infinite ammo, no reload, unlimited health, stamina, gadget energy, literally everything you'd want to make the game more flexible and enjoyable. The best part? These trainers are always updated for new patches, so they never stop working. Xmod also makes performance tuning effortless. It includes FPS Graphics Pro tools, unlocked frame rate caps, translation features, and a built-in mod hub. With one click, you can apply mods like camera tweaks, intro skips, ultra-wide fixes, or even character face reshapes. It's everything you'd normally spend hours setting up, now done in seconds. And yes, it even runs great on the Steam Deck. Let me show you. My game is running in the background, and I'm going to enable only two cheats: unlimited health and unlimited stamina. You can also toggle them with hotkeys. And just like that, I'm unstoppable. My health bar doesn't move, my stamina never drains, and every enemy feels like nothing more than target practice. I'm not just playing the game anymore, I'm bending it to my will. So if you're tired of grinding and want complete control over your games, download Xmod today. Use my exclusive link in the description and pinned comment to grab it. Trust me, you'll never play Snake Eater the same way again. Now let's get back to the video. So to start off, I set the resolution to 1080p to make sure the game looks sharp while still giving a solid balance between visuals and performance. Next, I turned VSync off, because while VSync can prevent screen tearing, it also limits your FPS and can introduce input lag, which is not ideal when trying to maximize performance. After that, I set the maximum frame rate to 60, which is the default cap imposed by the developers. Unfortunately, the game comes with a strict 60 FPS limit, so no matter what settings you apply, you normally can't go beyond this cap. But don't worry, I'll show you a way to break this restriction a little later in the video, so stay tuned for that. For anti-aliasing method, I selected DLSS, with the upscaling quality set to performance mode. DLSS renders the game at a lower internal resolution, and then intelligently upscales it, giving you smoother performance without sacrificing too much visual fidelity. As for graphics quality, I set it to custom and manually tweaked every setting to its lowest preset. So with these settings applied, let's now check out the in-game performance. The result? Even with these minimal settings, the game remains very playable. Yes, the visuals are toned down, but the FPS improvement is noticeable and the gameplay feels smooth and responsive. Next, I wanted to compare performance with FSR, so I switched the anti-aliasing method from DLSS to FSR while keeping the upscaling quality in performance mode, and I left all other graphical settings the same. And I found that performance is almost identical between DLSS and FSR. The FPS is consistent across both methods, although FSR does show some subtle differences in visual quality. So ultimately, the choice between DLSS and FSR depends entirely on your hardware and personal preference. Both provide a solid and enjoyable experience, so you can stick with whichever one feels better for you. Now that we've tested these settings, it's time to quit the game and dive into graphical tweaks that can boost FPS even further. Now let's move on to configuration file tweaks. The configuration files for this game is located in your hidden app data folder. From there, navigate to Local, MGS Delta folder, Saved, Config, and then into the Windows folder. Once you're in the folder, open the file named Game User Settings using Notepad. The first section we'll look at is the Scalability groups. Here you'll see different graphical properties with their current values set. You can disable specific settings by changing their values to 0, which can give a noticeable boost to your FPS. Next, let's talk about the screen resolution variables. One of the great things about this game is that it supports custom resolutions, so you can set it to whatever you prefer. For this example, I'm using 960 by 540, but feel free to pick whatever works best for your system. You'll also notice a variable that controls the frame rate limit. As you probably know, the developers cap the game at 60 FPS, so no matter what number you enter here, the game will normally stay locked at 60. But don't worry, later in the video, I'll show you another method to uncap the FPS so you can play at any frame rate you want. After making these changes, save the file and then set its attributes to read-only. This ensures the game doesn't overwrite your changes when it launches. Once that's done, we can launch the game again to test the improvements and see how the FPS behaves with these tweaks applied. Now, as you can see, the FPS is actually higher. I'm technically getting more than 60 FPS, but because of the built-in 60 FPS limit, it isn't visible yet. Don't worry, we're going to push it even further. For the next set of tweaks, you need to open the engine file using Notepad. Once it's open, simply add the variables I've provided. You can download all the config files from the video description. Now, I won't go into detail about what each variable does, because I don't want to waste your time. The important part is that these changes help optimize performance even further. So after adding the variables, save the file and make sure to set its attributes to read-only so the game doesn't overwrite your changes. Once that's done, launch the game again to test the new tweaks and see how the performance improves. At this point, you still won't notice any difference in FPS because the game is capped at 60 FPS, so now it's time for the final tweaks to remove this FPS cap. To do this, open the engine file again. This time, add the specific variables that will unlock the FPS limit. You can also set your desired FPS here. For example, if you want a 144 FPS cap, enter 144 for both values. Personally, I left mine at 120 frames per second, but you can choose whichever limit suits your system. There's also a variable to enable frame generation. If you don't want this feature, simply change its value from 1 to 0. Another variable activates reflex mode, and if you prefer to disable that as well, set its value to 0. Once you've made all these changes, save the file and set it to read-only one last time to prevent the game from overwriting your settings. To make sure the uncapped FPS works perfectly, you'll need to download a small mod. Check description for the download link. After downloading, extract the files and copy them into your game directory. Specifically into MGS Delta folder. Binaries then into the Win64 folder, and that's it. Now, when you launch the game, the FPS limit is completely removed, and the FPS is effectively doubled. The game also runs even smoother, especially if you're not recording your screen. You can expect an extra boost in performance in that case. So that's it for today's video. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends who play on low-spec PCs. This way they can also enjoy Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater smoothly on their systems. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, take care and happy gaming.
The security is pretty tight. There are sentries posted around the perimeter. I wonder how many are inside.